everybody, Katie Reif here, and this week I've got a very special guest. We've got film editor A.A. Dowd. Hi, Alex. How are you?
Hey, I'm doing great. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, I'm glad to have you. And we're going to be discussing The Long Night, Episode 3 of Season 8 of Game of Thrones on Winter is Here with the AV Club.
Winter is here.
This week, the Great War was won at Winterfell, but not without heavy losses, both in terms of human lives and in our ability to see them being lost. In an episode that's essentially a feature-length battle scene, the action ebbed and flowed, but in the end, a girl with no name emerged as a hero. Alex, when Arya jumped out to kill the Night King, I literally in my living room jumped and said in a very loud voice, all by myself, "Oh my God, Arya killed the Night King!"
Well, you knew somebody was coming in that moment.
You think so?
Right? Yeah. Did you think it was possible that Bran dies in that moment?
I thought Bran was going to die killing the Night King. Like he was going to go inside the Night King and shatter his brain from the inside or something. I didn't really know.
Or bring a flock of ravens down to attack him or something?
Yeah, I didn't know how it was going to go down, but I kind of thought that maybe Bran was preparing to sacrifice himself to kill the Night King. And so having Arya come out from the side "Ha ha, got you, fucker."
Yeah.
That was truly surprising to me.
Totally.
I don't know. Was it to you?
Well, I think maybe this is part of the fact the episode aired the same weekend as Avengers Endgame.
Oh, okay, which I haven't seen yet.
Right.
So.
I've sort of become prepared for these sort of last-minute saves, I was like, somebody is going to come in this last moment and stop this from happening.
Well, that's really interesting because that is that's a kind of mindset that this show did not have at first.
It's true.
When it first started, it was like, no, anything could happen at any time. And that was a big part of the show's appeal. And now, like you were saying, you anticipated it because it had the same kind of beats as a Marvel Cinematic Universe movie,
totally.
Which has a very pre-established, very blockbuster, comic booky sense of beats. And so I think that comment right there really shows how much this show has changed over the years.
It has, yeah. I think you're right that this used to be a show that was, I would say this was the most unpredictable thing on TV.
Oh, yes, definitely.
Anybody could die and...
Horribly.
Horribly, yes.
And if you liked them, the
and
more horrible their death.
Too.
Yes.
Senselessly.
Yes.
There was not always a sense that when a character died on Game of Thrones, they were dying in any way that was noble. Sometimes it was just wrong place, wrong time. It actually reminds me a little bit of The Wire in that sense. For a while.
Or just straight out cruelty. They would kill characters just to show how cruel this world was.
Absolutely. Yep.
Which is also kind of like The Wire.
Of course.
Well, we're going to spoil The Wire for you real quick. Like when Omar dies on The Wire, it's just so yes, the world is a dark and senseless place.
Right, totally.
But, I think it was around the time that they diverged from George R.R. Martin's books that this show became... I have trouble articulating except that it became more like a regular TV show. And a lot of that is in the character beats. In many ways, the character work is the strongest thing about the show right now. Like last week, obviously, there was a ton of character work. And this week, a moment that was a small moment, but I really liked was Tyrion and Sansa down in the crypt being just kind of holding hands and being like, you're one of the good ones.
Yeah, totally.
And going out to fight. That was a really great moment to me. And that's a character as a strength, but they also have character as a weakness, and I think that showed a lot in this episode in the character deaths. And you were kind of talking about this before we started rolling, where all the characters that died it was the culmination of their arc.
Yes.
In this episode,
It sort of felt like at this point these characters have outlived their usefulness to this plot, therefore they can die,
Yeah.
Which is, again, I think is a deviation from how this show used to operate.
Oh, absolutely.
You look at somebody like Robb Stark, it doesn't appear that his arc is over when he dies.
No, yeah, he's building towards something bigger, supposedly, which is why it's so shocking when they all die.
Right. A lot of the characters who died last night, I feel like, were people who... Well, a lot of them died defending someone else. So
very noble.
Yep. So all these deaths had meaning, so to speak. So remind me of who died. I'm not always great about the names of some of these characters. These were all the sort of... These are below the line characters mostly who died.
Mostly below the line characters. No Starks, no Lannisters, no fan faves.
Yeah.
I thought for sure they were going to kill somebody just because people liked them, like Brienne or Tormund or both.
Totally.
But they both lived. So again, very much like a typical television show. Let's see. Let's test my knowledge of Game of Thrones.
Down, so can you do it
are we gonna do
without
a quiz?
looking at these? All right.
Okay.
It's I'll tell you this. There's 5 characters.
Okay, great. There's Dolores Ed from the Night's Watch. There's Jorah Mormont, whose entire life has been building towards sacrificing himself for Daenerys Targaryen, and he got to sacrifice himself for Daenerys Targaryen, so congratulations, Jorah. Let's see. Oh, Tiny Mormont, a.k.a. Lyanna Mormont, got to go out a badass death, and that is one way this show is still willing to be shocking, which is by killing kids in really, like, horrible, graphic ways.
Yeah. I remember somebody last week being like, when we were talking about the odds of character death, somebody being like, well, they won't kill a kid. And I'm like, have you watched this show? They burned a kid at the stake. You know? Like, children die.
Yeah, they had a screaming zombie baby in front of like a flaming wheel of limbs. Like they would kill a kid, and they did. Tiny Mormont, R.I.P. Again, like she went out with honor, which was like her. I don't want to say her only character beat, but it was like her main character beat, was that she's just like very like tough and honorable and a warrior. So again, good for her. And then Theon Greyjoy died.
Which I have to say, that for me was the most affecting of the deaths. And it's a little obvious that Theon is going to get some kind of redemption after everything he's done, and everything he's been through. They've sort of given him moments of false redemption when he's failed to step up.
Yeah.
Last season he had a big one where he sort of fled, you know? But I did find it affecting, giving him some moment of redemption.
I'm trying to peek at your...
Oh, did you forget the last one?
I forgot the last one!
Yeah.
And then, but I peeked at Alex's paper, if you're listening. Beric Dondarrion.
Yes.
The...
Eye Patch Lazarus.
The Eye Patch Lazarus. R.I.P. Eye Patch Lazarus.
Well, somebody even says at a certain point, he was brought back for a purpose, and that purpose is served. And
Melisandre says that straight out.
That's right. Yep.
Yeah.
And that to me feels like almost like the show acknowledging that all of these characters have served their purpose. You know? So,
yeah, totally. Because you're right that was the unifying theme with all the deaths this week, which is that they were all, not that they wanted them, but they kind of wanted them. That's the death that they all wanted, was to sacrifice themselves for someone else and to be redeemed and all that kind of stuff. Although I do have one question about Theon's death, which is that if Bran knew Arya was coming, right? He knew. And he let Theon go anyway?
Well, maybe he was giving Theon what he wanted.
That's true. Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Theon gets to...
You don't think Theon wanted on some level to go back to the Iron Islands and hang out with his sister and get drunk, talk about girls?
I think that what he wants in his heart of hearts is to die defending the Starks.
Yeah.
And Bran even says, you're home. You know?
That's true.
Like, he's like, you know, everything that you did brought you back to here.
Yeah, that's true. Now. That's true.
I don't know. For me, that was maybe the most moving beat in the episode.
I agree it was the most moving beat in the episode, but I was a little like, Bran, you didn't have to do that, buddy.
You could have told him just like...
You could have been like, get it over, step
Well, but the question is, can Arya come in and save the day if Theon doesn't
distract him?
Yeah, doesn't slow it down. It's all part of the rich tapestry of fate. You know?
I mean, who can argue with the rich tapestry of fate? I certainly can. But
so who did you think was the MVP of this episode?
Okay, so...
If we're looking at it as a feature-length battle.
Okay. Well, Arya gets the medal, you know. We joked last time about the end of Game of Thrones being like the end of Star Wars, where everybody gets a medal from Princess Leia. Like, Arya definitely earned her medal this week by jumping out from the side and saving the day at the last minute. And I didn't realize, like, when I was watching it, I was like, whoa, where'd she come from? I didn't realize that she had... what do they call it when they put on the face? She put on one of her faceless man faces as a White Walker, I think, is how she blended in. I don't know. If anyone disagrees with me, please let me know, because when I saw it, I was like, did she just come running up from the side like, ah?
Yeah, that is a little confusing how she got from inside the castle
to there. I think because right before that, Melisandre asks her, what do we say to the god of death? Not today.
Not today.
And that's something from the Faceless Men. And there were a lot of references to things she learned from the Faceless Men before that in the episode. So I think maybe she put on the face of a White Walker and she was walking behind the Night King.
Yeah.
And he didn't see her because she was in her White Walker outfit.
So checks out to me.
Okay. But speaking of Melisandre, I thought she also deserves a medal this episode. Good job, Melisandre. Because she has been, at first she was an overtly evil character, and then she was a morally neutral character, and now she's fully on the side of good and the living, and which is more consistent with what we know about the religion of the Lord of Light, which is it's sort of a Christianity. analog.
Yeah, isn't this kind of just like repenting on your deathbed in a way?
A little bit, yeah.
She's like, well, this is the end for me, so I need to do some good before I go out, Also, would you call what happens to her at the end suicide?
I think possibly. It depends on how literally you want to take like the religious aspect of it. Mm-hmm. I kind of saw it as she made a deal with the Lord of Light that like, if you save these people, then I'll give myself.
Yeah.
Like, basically, she made a deal with her God, and then her God held up his end, and so she held up her end.
Got it.
Is how I interpret it.
Are there multiple gods in this world?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
There's multiple religions, for sure.
Right.
Like, there's the Lord of Light, which is like Christianity, and then they have the I forget the name of it, but there's like a more ancient religion that they practice in the north.
But why wouldn't everybody just worship the Lord of Light if we have tangible proof that he makes miracles?
Okay, Elder Dowd, getting all Christian with us here. Why worship other gods when there's a real one?
Well, there's proof. I'm just saying there's proof. Anyway.
No, I mean, it's just, yeah, it did work this time.
Yeah.
So maybe the Lord of Light will win a few converts out of this one.
Yeah,
because,
totally.
like, he did kind of, through Melisandre, where she lit the Dothraki swords on fire at the beginning, which was pretty fucking cool. And then she started the fire in the pit to, delay that. So, like, twice throughout the battle, she kind of saved the day. Well, I don't know. She definitely brought the morale up at the beginning, although it's debatable how much the Dothraki swords being on fire really
actually helped.
Well,
but it did allow for a really cool image.
Yes, it did.
Yeah.
One of my favorite in the whole episode.
I think
personally.
so. Yes. Yeah. The way that moment was staged, I thought was pretty brilliant.
Why don't you tell the people which moment we're talking about?
So we're talking about the moment at the very beginning of the episode where she lights the Dothraki blades on fire. They charge into battle. And instead of seeing that from the perspective of the warriors who have charged in the battle, we basically just see it from sort of Jon and Daenerys' perspective at the castle.
From the wall of Winterfell.
Yes.
What it would
so
look
we
like.
just see in the far distance, we just see these little flickers of light slowly being extinguished. Which is very ominous and
so
a beautiful
ominous.
image.
Yeah.
And man, R.I.P. the Dothraki.
Yeah.
Though.
So that whole tribe of people is just gone now, I guess. They're all
along with
gone.
most of the Unsullied as well, right?
Most of them, yeah.
So Daenerys doesn't have much of an army anymore.
That's true. And, well, there's a few Daenerys moments that make me kind of wonder where this show is going with Daenerys, if maybe she'll have a last-minute heel turn. Like, for example, the Night King, she doused him with dragonfire and nothing happened. Mm-hmm. So that could either just be a Night King White Walker thing, just general magic. But if you remember, Targaryens also cannot be burned with fire. So is the Night King a dead Targaryen?
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, it's
I hadn't
possible.
considered that.
It's possible.
Yeah.
It doesn't. I don't know how much it matters at this point, considering Arya killed him.
I think in the books they reveal who it is.
Oh, really?
I think.
Okay.
Don't quote me on that. I think I was talking to somebody who reads the books and was like, that person did not want to tell me because it could be a spoiler.
I bet it's a Targaryen.
Could be.
Yeah, it's possible.
Yeah.
Please tell us in the comments. And
we're going to get dumped
Twitter.
on really hard for this one. Somebody's going to come in, excuse me.
I know. Katie's going to come back like...
Yeah, exactly.
On page 516.
She's like, I leave for one episode. You go and talk this nonsense. Anyway.
And you guys can't remember what book they revealed it in. And we're like, sorry.
Now, do you agree with, because a lot of folks are talking about how they felt that this episode was too dark visually.
Yes, I understand that. And it was hard to tell what was going on at times. But I have a bit of a minority view on this, that I think that was actually intentional and good.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
I liked we were talking about the shot with the darkness and the lights slowly going out one by one. I think the fact that the background of like all around Winterfell, there was like fire and light and battle going on. Then all around it was just like clouds and darkness and blackness. Mm-hmm. That to me was extremely ominous because it was like what's darker, like death is like the ultimate darkness. Like there's it's.
Well, I think they want to put you in the shoes of a lot of the people fighting this battle as well.
Yes.
It's a dark place.
Totally. Well, and also, they had snow falling and they had ash falling from all the fires. Mm-hmm. And then, so that was that, hurt the visibility. And also another thing that I thought was actually pretty cool was the way that they showed the army of the dead. It was like a force of nature. Specifically, it was like water.
Yeah.
Like, when the battle very first starts and they kill the Dothraki and then they come up to fight the Unsullied, and the army of the dead, it comes on like a tidal wave. Mm-hmm. They don't charge forward like people, like human soldiers would. It's like a tidal wave that engulfs them. And I thought that was so scary.
Well, they put off showing them, too, for a really long time. It is just this ominous, unseen threat for a while, which is why I think another reason that opening moment when we see the Dothraki charge in and we don't see it from their perspective.
It's scary.
Why that works so well. Yeah,
it's scary.
I think it is genuinely scary. I do think that some of this episode shades into incoherence.
Sure, in the battle scenes.
Deliberately or not.
Yeah, I mean, definitely in a medieval battle like this, especially considering all the factors where it's nighttime and it's snowing and there's fire and ash. If you were actually in that situation, you wouldn't be able to see jack shit.
Absolutely.
You wouldn't.
So I think there is a fair justification for it.
Sure.
I still think it occasionally makes watching the episode a little bit of a chore.
Yeah.
I also think the stuff on the dragons is occasionally hard to follow as well.
Yeah, I mean, they were like going up in the clouds and stuff, but yeah, I kind of had trouble following the battle with the three dragons up in the clouds. I had a little bit of trouble following that one. So.
I will say this too, that Game of Thrones generally, especially as a television show, has wonderful special effects. Mm-hmm. I think whenever I'm seeing Daenerys on that dragon, that is an effect that has never...
It's never worked for you?
I just don't find it convincing.
Yeah.
I'm watching a green screen effect here,
Yeah.
It's the one moment where watching that show where I'm like, oh yeah, this isn't a big budget movie. This is a TV show.
Right. Well, it's a big budget TV show.
I heard $70 million for this episode.
They spent the amount, I think they spent more on this episode than they spent on Hellboy.
They did, yeah. Speaking of which, Neil Marshall did not direct this episode.
That's right, yeah.
He did direct Hellboy. Maybe that's why he couldn't do it, because he was making Hellboy.
Maybe.
Doesn't seem like that was the right choice.
Yeah, I wonder how he feels about that decision.
yeah.
Because Neil Marshall could do like really badass, chaotic medieval battle, but you could still follow it.
Well, sure. And Marshall did 2 of the big battle episodes before this. His 2 episodes were Blackwater and The Watchers on the Walls.
And that's at this point, with like younger viewers, I think he's probably as well or better known for that than he is for like The Descent.
Oh, that's 100%.
Because The Descent was 15 years ago.
Well, right.
At this point.
Yeah. I think most people probably know him best as
the dude from Game of Thrones. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I really liked what they did with the chaos of it, but I understand why it was frustrating. Because one of the things I was doing, which I think everybody was doing, is I was kind of on death watch, where I was like, did Brienne just fall into that pile of zombies?
Right.
Just like watching for that, and how dark it was and how chaotic it was made it really hard to tell who had survived.
That's intentional too, you think?
I mean, I don't think it was fully intentional. I think it's a really interesting kind of refutation of something that has become very common with Game of Thrones, where people have death pools and everyone wants to talk about who's going to die, and making it hard to tell who died. I'm not sure that they did that as a deliberate kind of like thumbing their nose at that aspect of watching the show, but it definitely functioned that way.
Sure. What I really liked about this episode was that it's not just pure sound and fury for the whole episode. There actually is quite a bit of dynamic range in it. A lot of quiet, actually. Even once you kind of expect that at the beginning, because I think the beginning sets us up really well in that you have this sort of calm before the storm. And everyone's afraid, and they're delaying the dead getting there. But then even after the battle has sort of started in earnest. And we're getting these moments, basically giant zombies walking around, dragons flying around, breathing fire.
Yeah, that ice dragon destroying Winterfell when dumbass Jon Snow thought he was going to fight a dragon by himself. That guy.
Very on brand for Jon Snow.
It's so on brand for Jon Snow. I was telling my friend last night that Jon Snow never has a backup plan. It's always just, I'll be heroic, and that's it. But anyway, go on.
But even after all that stuff has begun, the episode is giving you these moments of quiet. I think actually one of my favorite moments of pure action in the episode is what I'm calling the Raptors in the Kitchen scene.
Yes.
Which is actually Arya in the library, walking around trying not to make a sound. That's a really nice contrast to... You have, out on the battlefield, you have just pure chaos.
You have bodies falling like rain out on the battlefield.
Yep. And then here in the library, the stakes are just one girl trying to get through this library without making a sound.
Yeah,
And I thought that was really effectively
Do you think
staged.
you thought it was well done?
Yeah. Oh, I love the moment where she runs into a White Walker and just kind of quietly.
Oh, yeah. Just sticks that butcher knife, that carving knife in her throat. Yeah.
Really effective moment. And in general, I just appreciated the stretches of quiet in this. You know?
One of the things about the quiet that I really liked was in the crypt, how they would cut to the crypt occasionally, and you couldn't hear anything down in the crypt.
Totally.
Like, except for one moment where I don't know if someone opened the door or what, but like for like a few seconds it was really loud. You could hear the battle outside, and then like no one came in, so I'm not sure where this wave of sound came from, but then it passed and then it's quiet again.
Yeah, totally.
I thought that was really compelling.
Well, that moment also made me realize too how fairly invested I am at this point in a lot of the characters who are remaining. And how, you watch a show like The Walking Dead. And The Walking Dead, I'm always like, can we please just get to some zombie action? That's like the one thing that show does well at this point. Can we just get to a zombie set piece? And I'm watching this and I'm just thinking, I just want more of these characters.
So you're watching this and you're like, yeah, enough with the zombie set pieces.
Kind of, yeah.
Let's get to the characters.
Totally.
Well, I mean, I really do think that speaks to the way that the show has evolved.
So thoughts for going forward? Where does the show go from here?
Well, there only is one place to go from here, and that is to King's Landing.
Yeah. Are we going to get another big battle scene?
Well, from what I understand, there were 2 feature-length episodes out of the 6, and so that would seem to indicate and they always do a penultimate battle scene. So
would that be redundant at this point, I mean, when you have a 90-minute battle scene, I mean, what are they going to do, a 2-hour one,
Another 90-minute one, maybe?
Yeah, maybe.
I mean, I just kind of feel like both of these conflicts do come from the very beginning of the series. Like the very first scene in Game of Thrones is Beyond the Wall, where we see the White Walkers for the first time. But also from episode 1 is the conflict between the Starks and the Lannisters, and that's got to get settled. Yep. So I think, and usually this show gives you one big battle season per episode, but it's the last season, so maybe we'll get 2 for the price of 1 this time.
Well, I want to be on the record as saying I hope that they find a way to resolve this series that doesn't end in another big battle. I kind of got my fill with this one, but I might be the minority in that respect.
Well, I respect that opinion, and it's really interesting, but I'm not going to get what I want. I don't think Cersei's going to go down without a fight, man. Yeah. I think it's going to get very weird again.
Well, what if we just had a whole episode that is from the perspective of a single character? What if there was a whole episode in the crypt, basically? The battle's happening outside, and we're just in the crypt. Would I be the only one who liked that?
Probably, yeah.
Probably, okay. All right.
Well, we've got a lot to look forward to. We're halfway through the last season, and visibility issues aside, I thought there was some really great tension in this episode. A lot of my favorite moments were Arya in this episode,
totally.
Like the Jurassic Park moment you referenced, I really liked, and like I said, I was genuinely surprised and excited when she dropped the knife and got the Night King in the stomach. I was like, yeah, go Arya!
It's a very satisfying moment.
Yeah.
Also, is she now the greatest hero in the history of this fictional world? I mean, she killed the Night King.
Yeah.
That's quite an arc for her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And her man Gendry better be waiting for her when she's done. Yeah. Well, I think that's all we've got for this week on Winter is Here with the AV Club.
Thanks for having me.
Well, yes, thanks for coming on. It's so exciting. Yeah. I knew I came in really excited to talk about all the filmmaking stuff with you because
Totally.
That's what you do for a living. So, so Winter is Here with the AV Club. We are now on our 3rd episode, and we are big time now. We are on iTunes and everywhere else you can get your podcasts. Please subscribe and give us 5 stars. We would really appreciate it. It helps other people find the show. And as we all know, there's no dearth of Game of Thrones podcasts in the world, but we think ours is pretty good. And also, check out our other podcast. It's called Dial M for Maple, if you're a Riverdale fan, and that is also on iTunes. So thanks for listening or watching, as the case may be. And we'll join you next week when the living are fighting each other.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks. Bye.